you didn't think about it. If you did, I think emotionally it would affect your own performance. So I think we all came into the combat area with the thought, we're going to survive, but those of us who don't, it's the falling of the cards.
We'd cry so much sometimes, but I'd always try to go someplace where somebody wasn't around and weep for my friends and my crew members that were killed. And it started taking its toll on people. You know, sometimes you'd be cursing God and praying to Him at the same time.
It was part of the paradox. The long, safe days of the country life and the instant, sharp brutality of war. It was no wonder that some of them celebrated their survival by letting off steam.
They just lived for the day. They sort of crammed into one day as if it was going to be their last day.
There was one thing that could always soothe them, that affirmed that life could still be sweet.
And the London women were at your feet. You could dance with anyone you wanted. You couldn't always take them home, but you could dance with them.
They had more money. Now, if you went out with an English soldier, you got fish and chips, you know, but you went out with American, you got a taxi ride and dinner.
One place you could find comfort was in the quiet of a little London club.
In the back of your mind, you were saying, well, this isn't really real. That the real world is up there in the sky. The real world is seeing those dreadful burning planes on the ground and seeing cities go up in flame. So you were never quite sure whether that was the nightmare and the Brevet Club was real, or whether the Brevet Club was a reverie and the war was real.
By now, America's war effort was in high gear. New bombers, though no long-range escorts as yet, and new men to fly them, young and confident, until they met the veterans, the ones who had smelled the flames.
They'd sort of walk around like zombies. We were replacements for the ones that were shot down. But the remaining guys were really bad. Yeah. And you'd talk to them, and if they had 6 missions in, you'd say, God, you're a hero. You know, you can't do that. How can you live? How can you still be here?
I can't remember the fellow's name, but he wasn't very encouraging. He says, don't unpack your locker bag, he says. He says, they'll be sending it home to your mama soon.
It might have been a miracle. It might have been a superior performance. It might have been the luck of the draw. But some guys did make it to 25 missions. And that felt pretty good. As good as if they'd suddenly become immortal. January 1944. Things were going to be different. The long-range escorts were here. They could take the B-17s right to their targets. In 6 days in February of 1944, 3,800 planes bombed enemy targets. They called it the Big Week. The new P-51s, the Mustangs, sought other targets once the bombers were headed home. No place in Northwest Europe was safe from them. The P-51 was the pawn that changed the game. It made long-range penetration a reality. It laid all of Germany's industries open to daylight attack.
My dear sister, I thought I might get home by spring. However, things have changed, and I've been thinking of going into a fighter group when I finish here. P-38s or P-51s. This war business is about all I know, so I guess I might as well go all the way. Don't say anything to Mom and Dad yet. I don't want them to worry. Love, Harold.
Gentlemen, the target for today is Berlin.
We went into the briefing room, and the curtain is down. Of course, the guy gets up and he says, the target for today is Berlin. And everybody, But I think secretly we really wanted to go because, that's an important place. And here we are, we're going to go to Berlin. We're going to do it, and we're going to be the first.
I know everybody was scared. If he says he wasn't scared, he wasn't there.
For Bob Shones, it would be a day he would always remember.
There have been other big ones like Rayenburg and Schweinfurt, but Berlin had a name all by itself, of course. And we went to briefing like any other day. Went to our airplanes like any other day.
March 6, 1944. It was a day that began in glory. One Englishman saw what it meant. He thought, there go Texas and Illinois and Oklahoma, Arkansas and Vermont, Maine and Florida and Oregon.
It was just a beautiful flight until the world started coming apart.
March 6, 1944. Preparations for the invasion of Europe were underway. The 8th Air Force was on the offensive. Berlin. It was a maximum effort. 810 heavy bombers with 800 fighters as escorts, there and back. The bomber stream was over 90 miles long, a mile wide, and half a mile deep. It took nearly half an hour for the stream to fly over a fixed point. It was formidable, but it was not invulnerable. The fighter escorts could not cover every group in all of the 90-mile stream all of the time. There were gaps in the armor. All the way into the target, in Belgium and Holland and Denmark, and in Germany itself, the Messerschmitts and the Focke-Wulfs scrambled. They would be looking for a gap in the fighter cover, somewhere in the 90 miles of American bombers. And they would find it. Halfway down the bomber stream, there was a problem for Bob Schoen's bomber group.
Someplace towards Germany, one of the crew suddenly piped up and wanted to know if anybody'd seen any of our fighter protection lately. We had not. It hadn't really occurred to us, but we had not. Something was wrong. And it wasn't very long before we could see through our windshield that what was wrong was coming. It was German fighters. We thought about 200 or 300 of them at the time, like a swarm of bees coming out of the distance. And they went through us, just like a cloud went by us. And when it went by, the first time, why, our entire high squadron, 9 airplanes, was gone. We just took them right out. Raided us a total of 3 times, and by the time the third raid was over, we found ourselves sitting alone.
I was sitting behind them in a bomber column and watched them being decimated. The German fighters were working over them, and I kept thinking, pretty soon we'll be up there.
The head of the bomber stream was now drawing close to Berlin. There, the Mustangs were present in force, and they engaged in a savage battle with the German fighters.